So, recently I just passed 200 hours of DBD playtime, and it got me thinking, am I better than when I started, or am I still just a baby killer? Well, to find that out, I'll be reviewing one of my first matches I played as Huntress, followed by one of my more recent games, to see if I've improved in any way. And make sure to stick around until the end of this video, because I need your help. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the first game. Right, so here we go, this is game one. Both games on Pren Asylum, just to keep some continuity between them. The only thing that's different is the perks I'm using and the amount of hours I've played. So yeah, starting off here, I can see there's two people to chase. Back then, I just made the split decision and went for the one in the green jacket, which was Michaela. The one thing to learn from, if people have got paid skins, they're normally going to be the better players because they've obviously invested time and money into the game, so if you see plain clothes or normal clothes, go for plain clothes. Right here, Meg's doing shit in the corner. Catch up to her, give her a slap around. And again, we got the two-person split. That terrible hatchet throw wasn't even close. But surprisingly, it gets worse than that. At this point, I make the right decision. I start chasing Meg down. She leaves the chapel and vaults the window. And then she does the same, vaults the window again. I go back for the hatchet throw, and I hit.
Gotcha, bitch.
Pick her up, and I get my first hook of the game, and there's still 5 gens to go, so decent at this point. I look at that gen that's obviously running, and for some reason decide not to kick it, which is a running theme in this first game, and from my early play. So now we find the green jacket Michaela, and we engage in a pretty awful loop around this wall, leading towards the pallet, and boom, I get a pallet right to the face. And a bit of a Bilbo Baggins just for good measure. She leaves, and I throw another terrible hatchet. Right, okay, so we've got some more hatchets, and then we just happened to find a survivor in the one next to it, which was just purely a lucky guess there. So we got a second hook of the game so far. 4 gens still to go, so not the worst position. We've actually got a decent amount of hooks. Find another survivor behind the rock. Get the one slap down. She's obviously going for the save here. So a little bit slow with the hatchet, I think. But we do manage to get her down and give him a good slap. And then it's just a fairly easy hook here. Realistically, I probably should have chased the guy off hook because we could have got 2 downs then. But, you know, like I said, this is early play. Make a completely wrong decision, try and go through a doorway that isn't a doorway, and then decide to take a trip into the cellar for no apparent reason. And like most cases on this game, or at least from the early games, the survivors got away, and they often do. So now having a little look around, we see a gen pop, and I run straight there. Again, another running theme. As soon as the gen pops, I run straight to it. Again, gen pops, run straight to it again. And we have a little look around. Go for a hatchet throw, that's awful. And thought about kicking the gen, but just didn't do it. Although I would say that's probably the right decision. Another terrible hatchet throw, as we did have a chase on, and she's injured, so if we got down there, it was more beneficial than just kicking the gen quickly. So we've obviously lost the Michaela, route back to the gen, and luckily she went straight back to the same point. Have a little run around here. Around the pallet. At this point, I'd completely lost her. It's only because she dropped the pallet that I seen her. And instead of going for a hatchet throw, just went for a basic M1 attack. So I believe that is 3 or 4 hooks now. Obviously not in a good position, considering the fact there's only 1 gen left. Go for a hit and get completely the wrong person. But we continue to chase the other survivor here. Miss the hatchet throw. Go through the window. She vaults. Go around the outside. And go for the M1. And we get it. So that's 4 hooks. And now they've completed all the gens. So we're not in a good place whatsoever. No one's close to death hook. They've still got plenty of chance to get out. This Meg really dedicates to the gate. Doesn't leave at all. So we managed to get her down there. So the only question was, at this point, do we just put her on hook and camp around and, you know, maybe get another hit? Or do we go trying for another survivor? But We go for the hatchet throw, and yeah. Yep, that was pretty upsetting. Michaela gets the Meg off hook. We go for a hit, completely miss. Now they're both running, and she's body blocking. Although not at that point. I could have potentially got her there, although I don't think the time would have run out to actually down her at that point. And that's it. 4-person escape, and we had 4 hooks. So, yeah, pretty awful, but at this point, I was probably only 3 or 4 hours into the game, and that's my only excuse. So, a few things to point out in this video. I did an awful job of monitoring gens, and I didn't damage any of them. I chased the better survivors when I should have gone for the easier targets, and wasted far too many hatchets with stupid throws. So, going into game 2, let's see what's improved and what stayed the same. And here we go, game 2. So, over 200 hours into the game, the question is, am I any better? So again, like I said at the start of this, the only difference is the perks. The map is, well, it's close to the same, it's just the variation of Pren Asylum. Go for a hatchet throw there. Not the worst, it was more just to see if we can get it. Maybe get lucky with the first shot. I know they've started this generator because I've got Lethal Pursuer, so I saw at least a couple of them go in here. Run around the outside of the building just trying to catch one out. Get some hatchets. And we head back here. And we find a survivor just crouched in the corner. We've got a Meg with a sweater. Go for a pretty awful hatchet throw there. Not much has changed. I'm still terrible with hatchets. I get the occasional lucky shot now, but yeah, I'm pretty dreadful. I give up on this chase because it seems like that's going to be quite a long loop, and she seemed pretty good from the start. So instead, we go for potentially what would be an easier target. Get the hatchet throw so she can't get as much distance, and then we get an easy M1 here. That is the advantage of hitting them with hatchet first and then going for an M1. You can catch them a lot faster. And 200 hours in, I've obviously learnt to kick gens now. I got Pop, which regresses gens by 30% every time we hook a survivor. So, yeah, the aim is you get that hook and then you get to the gen and kick it as soon as possible. See someone has tracked and saved the survivor. I come back and Meg was the only one I could see. So yeah, technically this is tunneling, but hey, you know, I'm not just going to give up on the chase. She was there, so I took her down. This time I actually managed to see the person that saves Meg off the hook, so I go for her instead. She drops the pallet. We break that, and now we start chase. She manages to get pretty far. I try and fake her out by going the other way, thinking she might stay by pallet, but she didn't. Double vaults, and she's around the corner. At this point, I realize I got no hatchets, so we decide to top up there and also use the alien perk so I can potentially get a scream and find out where she is. She managed to get to pallet first and drops it. I avoid the flash and go for a hatchet. Miss again, but, you know, overall wasn't a terrible chase. Like, you know, well, at least for my standards, it wasn't terrible. Got the Feng Ming here, get a decent hatchet throw off, and she goes upstairs. We keep following her. She gets past the pallet here, but doesn't drop. She comes back to try and do it, which was a big mistake, so we managed to get the M1 in the down. Back on the gen, we kick it, another 30% off. And it does seem like the survivors really are fixating on that generator more than others, so it makes my job nice and easy. I don't have to split between too many of them. Somebody got the hook save here, so again, going back to the same area, we got the alien perk running, so we're able to see the auras for, well, not the auras, but we get a scream off both of them, so we get a bit of an update on their location. Go for the hatchet throw there, miss. Again, miss, just a little too low. Not the worst in the world, but yeah, should have probably done better there. At this point, realize there's a Meg on the gen, so instead, just go for the chase here. And also, this survivor is on death hook. Get a really nice hatchet throw there. Manage to fake the hatchet here and hit a tree. A little bit unlucky, but we get the M1 as she's going over the pallet. And we get our first kill. 3 gens left, 1 survivor down. Not the worst in the world. And we've got 1 hook on the Feng Ming as well. Okay, so we get the hatchet throw, and like I said, I like doing this now because you can catch up to survivors a lot faster. What I didn't realize was this cheeky bastard.
Fuck you.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about clickers. But, you know, it's fair enough. You're allowed to use them. We now get into the chase. She doesn't get too far away. She's trying to loop around this little wall. Luckily, she just kind of stays in position. And boom, move in, get the hatchet. Nice, easy down there and a hook. Get back on that gen as they were working that one up a little bit further as they traded from the one I was kicking before. Feng Ming waiting around a tree there. Don't know if she was hoping I hadn't seen her, but obviously I had. And there we go. Chase her back up in the building again. And this is the second hook for Feng Ming now. So we're in a decent position. Still 3 gens to go. I see the survivor here waiting around the wall, going for the save. And I get blocked by that bit of timber coming out of the wall. A little bit annoying, but oh well. We get a slap off there as well. Go for a hatchet throw. Now, I know there's one of those freeze bombs.
I took offense to that.
And a flash there, but hey, you know, I realized I gotta just get it out the way because the longer it's there, the more of a nuisance it's gonna be. Managed to hit with the hatchet here. Go for a second one. Just getting a bit greedy there. I accept the fact that I know I'm going to get flashed here, but I think as long as I can listen out, I could probably find her pretty quickly. I've run into a wall like a complete dumbass, but somehow managed to double back and actually find her. And we get the M1 and we get her down here. So we've got 2 survivors on Death Hook now. This Meg is by far the best one in the group, and something I've learned from playing over the 200 hours is if there's one survivor that's really good at looping and just overall really tricky to get a hold of, just don't bother, because you're just wasting your time. Maybe once I'm actually good at the game, you know, then chasing better survivors is a viable option. But at the moment, you've got to go for the weaker links. You know, I don't tunnel per se, but if there's an easier option out of 2, I'm going to take the easier option. So at this point, I've downed Feng Ming, but she managed to get revived back up. The other survivor, once I hooked her in basement, neither of them went to get her, so she died on hook. Again, we down her, and in the distance here, I just see the other survivor running past the rock, so I don't need to bother going to get the locker perk to reveal where she is. I know where she is, and she gives up. So, hatchet to the face, and then a quick M1 slap, and she's down and back on a hook. Get the Feng Ming up, and that's a wrap. We managed to get the 4K, and overall did pretty well in that match. Okay, so there's some good and some bad in this game, but let's start with the positives. I did a far better job of monitoring and damaging gens. I chose easier targets and cut chases short if I found no success. And lastly, I downed survivors faster by hitting them with hatchets than going for the M1 to finish off. With that being said, I'm still pretty bad with hatchet throws and I still miss a lot of shots. And not just that, I do still get carried away in chases, and that in turn means that I'm not very observant. You can see a perfect example of this here where I run straight past the crouched Meg. Anyway, it's time to answer the question I set out to answer. After 200 hours of game time, am I any better? Kind of. Let me explain. While I think I perform better now in monitoring gens and chasing survivors, a big part of this is due to the perks I run. If I didn't have these perks, I would be considerably worse at DBD. Without Ultimate Weapon and Lethal Pursuer, I'd take far longer to find survivors. And without Pop Goes the Weasel, gens would get finished way faster. So in terms of reaction skills and the overall mechanics of this game, I don't actually think I've improved much. I personally think that my biggest improvement over the 200 hours I've spent in DBD comes down to my understanding. And by that I mean, I now have a much better understanding of map layouts, perks and add-on combinations that synergize well with each other, as well as being able to identify survivor patterns and habits. And I think that's why I love DBD so much. There are so many variables to matches and what makes a good killer. And just as you think you're getting good, you get hit by a team of survivors who will truly annihilate you. And at that point, it's back to square one. But that's just my thoughts, and this is where I need your help. I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below, and let me know how you think I can improve as a killer. Just be gentle to me, because I'm still pretty new to Dead by Daylight. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Until then, hopefully, I'll see you in the next one.